You've probably heard this one, right? The idea that adding a little bit of ghee to your meal, especially an Indian meal, can help stop a big blood sugar spike. It's one of those classic bits of food wisdom. But does it actually work? Well, today we're going to dig into a really cool experiment that puts that exact idea to the test. So, here's the big question we're trying to answer. We're not just going to talk about theories here. We are diving into a real-world food experiment that used a continuous glucose monitor to get a straight, data-driven answer. Now, to do this right, you can't just wing it. You need a proper, controlled test. That means having a super consistent meal where you only change one single thing at a time. So let's break down exactly how this whole thing was set up. Okay, so here's our baseline meal. It's a pretty standard plate. We've got 200 milliliters of our har dal, 150 grams of bhindi, that's okra, and 4 wheat rotis. It's simple, it's common, and most importantly, it's repeatable, which is exactly what you need for an experiment like this. And this right here, this is the key to the whole thing. The two tests were exactly the same in every single way, except for one tiny change, that single extra teaspoon of ghee. That's it. That is the only variable being tested.
And just so you have some context, that 1 teaspoon of ghee isn't insignificant. It actually bumped the total calorie count of the meal up to around 850. About 100 of those calories were from the ghee alone.
All right, let's get to the good stuff, the results. The meal was eaten, the single variable was added, so what did the continuous glucose monitor actually say? How did the body respond?
I mean, let's be real. Nobody's debating this point. Food is always better when you add ghee. But tasting better is one thing. What did it do to that glucose spike?
After all that careful setup, what did the numbers actually show us? Let's see. And here we go. The meal without the extra ghee led to a blood sugar spike of 38 milligrams per deciliter. And the meal with the added ghee, the spike was 35. So yes, technically, there was a reduction, but it was tiny. A difference of only 3 milligrams. That's hardly the huge spike blunting effect that you might expect to see. Kinda surprising, right? So that result immediately makes you ask the next question. Wait a minute, I thought fats were supposed to slow down digestion and lower these glucose spikes. So why was the effect here so minimal? Well, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. While it's true that fats do help, the source material explains that for this specific meal, the impact was always going to be pretty small. And here's why. This is the key insight. The baseline meal wasn't a low-fat meal to begin with. The dal already had a ghee ka tadka. That's where you temper spices in hot ghee. And the bhindi was cooked in oil. So those fats were already in the meal, already doing the job of slowing down glucose absorption. Adding a little more on top just had a diminishing return. It's not about just adding more fat. It's about the overall balance of the meal. And hey, if you're not convinced, get this. A previous experiment mentioned in the source material with dal and rice makes this point even clearer. In that test, they added a full 3 teaspoons of ghee, and it had absolutely 0 impact. The spike was 36 without the ghee, and it was still exactly 36 with it. But look, this one test on ghee isn't the end of the story. It's actually just one step in a much bigger journey of optimizing this meal, and there's a very specific goal in mind. Let's just put this all into perspective for a second. The journey started with that baseline spike of 38. This ghee experiment nudged it down just a little bit to 35. But the ultimate goal, the goal is to get that spike all the way down to 19. That's right. The whole point of this series of experiments is to cut that original 38 milligram spike in half, bringing it down to just 19. So you can see, even though the ghee helped a tiny bit, there is still a really long way to go to reach that goal. So since ghee only gave us that small improvement, the journey has to continue. The next experiment in the series is going to be adding yogurt, or dahi, to the exact same meal. And that leaves us with a really interesting question. Could the combination of protein and fat in yogurt be the thing that finally makes a big dent in that glucose spike? We'll have to wait and see.